Howdy folks, Hellcracks here, and welcome to Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 148. And today we're going to be talking about the Spider. That's one of those mechs I like using. It could be a lot better, it could be worse in some cases, but today we're going to be talking about the 7M, the 7M Spider, that came out for the 3050 era. Now, it is pretty much an upgrade from the 5V version, which was, the 3039 mech. And there is a plethora of different types of mechs in this category. But the 7M is a 812-8. Obviously, it has lots of mobility. Runs around with this newfangled stuff called Endosteel that has been found again and starting to make its rounds throughout the inner sphere from the Helm data core being shared. Now, it only has 10 single heat sinks, which, that's kind of it's like, okay, if you put Endosteel on a mech, why not put double heat sinks? It's par for the course, I think. Runs around with 53 points of armor, which I think is slightly less. Yeah, it's 3 points less than the 5V, the 39 era one. But it does have ferrofibrous armor. Alright, that's pretty good. Okay, now, it has 2 medium pulse lasers instead of the standard medium lasers. So if you got a mech, which this thing does all the time, jump, or runs, the pulse lasers, if you can get these things into range, they're 6 or less with these inner sphere versions, it's very helpful with this mech. If you're having lots of modifiers on your end of it, to have something that negates some of those, that's always to your advantage. And obviously it had 4 jump jets in each of the right and left torso. Now, capabilities, what I like about this mech is it's pure, I like it, pure scout, gets around, moves fast, has the capability of finding obstacles out there, enemy mechs, eyes and ears type of job. And then when it jumps, it can jump in around different mechs, get in behind them, shoot them in the rear. And, that's where it works best. It's one of those mechs where you don't want to get into a slugfest, because if you get this mech around an anti-scout mech, where its job is to hunt down a spider, then it starts to have some problems. Now, with its mobility, it can keep away from a lot of those type of mechs, but eventually they're going to get found. As you know, in most cases, the battlefield, other mechs, they're trying to, the opposing player obviously wants to try to hunt these things down, so they can get corralled where all it takes is one or good lucky hits. It's like, okay, you need 12 to hit. Well, there have been many cases over the years where I've rolled 12, then roll another 12, take a headshot, or, it's like one of these mechs where he's need a 12 to hit, and then you roll a 9 and the leg's blown off, so it becomes just almost a stationary target, and then it just gets ripped to pieces because it has no armor. And it's like typically if you hit with a large laser pretty much anywhere on this mech, you're punching a hole through it except for the center torso. So that's because it doesn't have hardly any armor at all. It's got that paper mache keeping the internal parts inside the mech instead of having them fall out. Now, how do I typically use these things? This is a great mech for being in a city, because you can clear major buildings, go from one block to another, just jump in behind somebody. It is a threat, plain and simple. It's one of those mechs where you can get in behind people, get into a flank that's open. You know, you have a medium or heavy mech that suddenly it has its flank open where it has a bunch of holes in its armor. You know, you can jump this thing in really quick, put a couple shots in, or get one out of the two hit, and get a chance, you know, getting to one of those open holes and getting another, you know, chance of critical. And that's pretty much how I like to use it. And if you're in one of those games where you got an objective, snatch and grab, a snatch and grab game, this thing works awesome. You know, if you have some type of objective that needs to be picked up, it has two hands, so it's one of those mechs where you can jump in there real quick, grab it, and then jump out and just fly along. You know, it's almost like having a lamb in some ways for its mobility, and that's what I like about it. Now, there is a prefla, as I said, of different variants in this thing. Obviously, the original, we had the 5V with the two medium lasers, you know, in the center torso, you know, the 812-8. Pretty decent mag. Now, the 5D, one of the official ones, this one, never been a fan of it. It has a flamer and a couple, I think, of machine guns here. Okay, original, it removes the medium lasers and replaces it with a single flamer in the right arm. And okay, yeah, I guess that's just a flamer version. The 5K, there's one here that has machine guns. Okay, the 5K is one official variant. Removes one of the medium lasers and replaces the two arm-mounted machine guns. Okay, and 1 ton of ammo. So yeah, that's, or that should be a half ton of ammo. It's like 2 machine guns and a half ton of ammo or something like that. And that's the 5K. So yeah, the first two, the 5D and the 5K, are basically anti-infantry. And you hit any infantry with a machine gun or a flamer, you know, it does a bunch of damage to them, just tears them up really quick. So if you want something that can dive in really fast, get a lot of modifiers to not be hit, and then hit the 5K also removes, there we go, removes 2 jump jets. There's where that extra ton comes from. Then they jump in, have a lot of modifiers, hit the infantry, tear them up, and then they can jump out and hit something else. Now, that's basically their forte. 7K, upgrade the base design. This is based on success of the revitalized. This one uses one similar to what we have here. Has ferrofibrous and endo steel, and then carries 2 medium pulse lasers. All right, so 5K and the 5M, probably, or 7K and the 7M are almost identical here. Okay, then we have in the Jihad era and in 3074, the previous one, the 7K, is the 3067 era. And it also has a light fusion engine. So not as much tonnage for the engine, but, you know, it's a little bit of savings. And you have a lot more, you know, a lot more armor, because this one has 3 tons, so you're getting another 2.5 tons of armor on board, which this thing needs. You put more armor on this thing, it can survive a lot longer and does a heck of a lot better job. And then we have the 7K2. Okay, this one is in 68. It has reduced jump jets. Its armor is reduced by a half ton, but it carries a ER large laser. I've ran this one at Gen Con before, and a different version of it. Whatever the guy's running the at Gen Con from Catalyst Games. I had this one where you had an ER large laser. You could jump in, and it becomes a nice long range sniper basically. And I also had one where I ran same mech pretty much, except, you know, it had endo steel ferrofibers and XL engines, and it carried a large pulse laser. So that became, and it had a bunch of armor on it, and it was a great mech for doing anti scout mech type of activity. And that thing could jump in and just hammer, because I was jumping in behind and hitting clan mechs and stuff in the rear, hammer away and then jump out again, and they were having a hard time dealing with that mech. That was an interesting one. It's like that was probably an unofficial one, but I ran it at Gen Con. So to me, that makes it official. I just wish I knew what the nomenclature was. I might still have the sheet someplace. I have to take a look through all my stuff. Okay, at 74, we had the 7KC. This one has a light PPC and a C3 slave. So that's kind of a nice one where you're actually, if you're part of a C3 network, this thing can jump in. It has a pretty decent, with the light PPC, can do some good damage at a little bit farther out range than the medium pulse lasers. And you're able to bring your eyes and ears for your follow-on forces in closer. Obviously, we talked about the 7M. Then we have the 8K. This is 3084. Uses a compact gyro. Uses a fusion engine XL, which is nice. Lots of extra tons. And then I don't have a problem putting a fusion XL engine into my scout mechs. If they got lots of movement, you know, you might as well use it, you know, and be able to just get in and out really quick. Carries 4 tons of ferrofibrous armor, and it has a PPC, which is snub-nosed PPC. So it has a pretty decent weapon system on board to do some good damage. And you can do that because you have XL engine giving you a bunch of tonnage to play with. You know, it's like half of that is, I mean, it gives you pretty much 5.5 tons extra tonnage to play with. And that right there is a, you know, the PPC. Okay, we have the 8M, an upgraded. Alright, this is the 7M, but upgraded, has double strength. This came out in 3060, so they finally got around and put the double heat sinks on it. So basically, this 8M, if you can wait around and find one off the used mech lot, or get one directly from the factory, you know, from the Free World League, you can get an 8M which has a double heat sinks on it. Yeah, not bad. Kind of like it. I've used it before. The 8R, okay, this is the Republic of the Sphere. This is the after effect of the Jihad, you know, the post-Jihad. Okay, the 8R has Endosteel, a light fusion engine. Okay, it has improved jump jet, so this thing can fly even farther. Carries double heat, 10 double heat sinks, and 2 ER medium lasers. So it does have some decent range with it. Plus with the double heat sinks, okay, so it can jump 8 plus, and usually not worry about any heat problems at all, you know, with that. So it's basically taking the 7M and upgrading it even more with better type of weapon systems and engines. Like I said, there's a bunch of these. Okay, we got the 8X Experimental. It's 3078. This one puts a partial wing on it, basically kind of trying to turn it into a lamb. The 8XR, this version refitted, you know, with 2 medium pulse lasers have been removed and replaced by some 5 ER small lasers for close combat. So basically this can jump in behind somebody and just unload a whole bunch of small ER smalls and hopefully just tear a bunch of armor off people. I'd rather keep the 2 pulse lasers myself, but you know, each is to their own. Then we have the 10K. This variant removes the standard weapons, replaces it with an E large laser, a single ER large laser, and reinforced armor, ballistic armor. Okay. Then we have the C, which is I've used this one before too in games. Part of a network at Gen Con and Origins. 3054, the Charlie version is based on the 7M, but one of the pulse lasers has been downgraded to a medium laser. And then it has a C3 slave. So taking the 2 tons and replace it with a slave and a standard medium laser. Not a bad one. You know, if you're going to be mobile, getting around, moving around, doing it, it's like, you know, you're part of it, have an ability to get a network, works great. So it's a good mech. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. Now, if you have the old 39 version, the 5V, 5 Victor Spider, what would you do with that one? Basically, the first thing I would do is replace the singles with double heat sinks. Now that to me is a given, because if you fire the 2 medium lasers and you jump 8, yeah, you're not going to have the capability using all of that heat dispersion. You know, some of it's just like, oh, we got extra, but you don't have to worry about heating up. That's the nice thing. And if someone does hit you, by chance hit you with infernals, you don't have to worry about it. So that's the nice thing about it. And put ferrofibrous armor on it. If you have the capability to get that installed on it and you're able to do that, you know, a little bit of ferrofibrous armor and double heat sinks would turn the 5E into something that's worthwhile. Now, the 7M, let's say you have access to an XL engine. That one, I would probably just hit it up with a put an XL engine on this thing and add a bunch more armor on it. And I think you can even put another medium laser on board. Let me see here. Let's see what played with this thing. 7. Let's see. Ten doubles, ferrofibers, and just see here. Yeah, if you put XL engine on it, 10 double heat sinks, ferrofibrous armor, almost maxed out, 1 short, and then you can have 3 medium pulse lasers, 2 in the center torso, put 1 in an arm or something of that nature. So this thing can jump around. Now, if you don't want to have it in the arm, so yeah, that's one thing you can do, like put it in the head or something, so it's equivalent of having 3 in the chest. But you could jump behind somebody, hit him with 3 pulse lasers, and then try to do 2 punches, you know, type of thing, because you got both hearts freed up, and then having some chances of hitting somebody in the head, you know, give them a love tap in the head. So that's pretty much what I would do with it. You know, if I had a 7M and I had access to an XL engine, that's what I'd upgrade with. Because I've ran the 7M just standard by itself many, many, many times. It works. You just have to not get it into a situation where you know you're going to be hammered with lots of enemy forces where they want to just pummel you to death. So you got to just keep your eyes on things, you know, using that cover and concealment, moving from different trees or anything of that nature. So you're moving at least 7, so you got the 3 modifier, you got the jump modifier if possible, that's 4, and if you jump into lighter heavy woods, that's 5 or 6. So that pretty much 5 or 6 is going to negate almost any long range shooting at you. They'll look at it and go, oh, the fire solution is over 12, so they're going to ignore you. If they're at medium range, there's probably 8 modifier right there. So if they're a 4 gunnery, that's 12 minimum. And if they move, they're still not going to hurt. They're going to ignore you. So that's the nice thing about the Spider, is like keep this thing just moving as much as possible. That's why if I have the capability to put double heat sinks on it and I'm not worrying about the heat, this thing will jump every single time. I'm jumping 7 or 8 as much as, you know, keeping an eye out all the different terrain as I'm moving forward, leapfrogging, island hopping basically. And that's the way I always like using the Spider. It's a good mech. I wish it had more armor on board. There's ways of doing it. You know, 2 things you could do is, you know, it has ferrofibers. You could drop the 2 pulse lasers for keep this 2 standard medium lasers on board. You know, if you got the one with the Indosteel and fibers, you know, you can throw 2 more tons of armor on board with the ferro, so you're going to gain a little bit more off of it. And you're getting closer to being maxed out. So that's the way I look at that. So that is the Spider in a nutshell. It's a good mech. A lot of people, like myself, don't like the paper mache armor on board, but you know what you're getting with it, and you can use it, maneuver around, keep it moving, keep it alive, and it'll do wonders for you. And I've always been a big fan of it. So like and subscribe, share with all your friends, you know, because let's build this channel along with everybody else. It's a community. If you want to talk, hey, put your information down below. If you got anything you want to say and it's related to any rules or anything, and you got it in your rule book, put the page down so I can take a look at it, and I can look at things, because people have ideas too about different tactics, you know. And I've been playing for many years, but people will show stuff and like, oh, I've never thought about that before. That's part of the community. Many different ways of doing things on the battlefield. All right, we'll talk with y'all later. Hellcracks out.